Hello, Trenton.
Evening.
Hello, audience. Tonight, we're at Y Plate Imports, and we're going to be talking with Trenton about a subject that we previously talked about in another episode, which was the state of the importation industry for exotic right-hand drive Japanese cars coming from Japan to America and their rising importation costs. Previously, in the last episode, we talked about Trenton's unwillingness to sell cars at an elevated price, higher than he was used to selling. And now, after a year of COVID, he has overcome that problem, and he is now selling cars at a very marked up price of what they were before.
Yeah, it is kind of unfortunate that they shot up so high, but what's kind of the saving grace is the JZX100s becoming legal. So we're doing a lot of buying and storing for the next 9 to 14 months, anything from early 96 to early 97. So that's kind of what we've mostly been selling.
So what were you selling mostly before? Does that mean you were mostly selling cars that were immediately available for import at low prices that were JZX90 from certain years?
Pretty much. I mean, I'd say 90% of the cars I've done have been JZX90s. Okay. Just because it's a passion I have, easy to specialize in. It's what I know the best. So.
Am I still in the shot? Okay.
It's a comfy.
Yes, it's very nice.
What is that called?
Some type of couch that you.
What's the couch called?
Yeah, I don't know.
Casting couch. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you were buying 90s. Now you're actually, instead of buying cars that are immediately available for import, you're storing them, trying to beat the market. Is it worthwhile storing them, and how much does it cost to store them? Like, it's just a weird market right now. Do you see it going up farther? This is just a conversation, chatting with someone that's, like, I can talk about this conceptually, but he's actually doing it. How many cars have you imported total?
Total?
Yeah. More than 100?
150 maybe.
Okay.
In 3 years.
And how many have you done since COVID started?
Importing, I've only brought in probably 20 or 25.
Okay.
Mostly because we're starting to get in the hundreds, which can't come in yet.
Okay. So some of those, are those 25 ones that are waiting to be imported? Are you counting those, or just the ones you've already imported?
Just the ones I've already imported.
Okay. So you have some out. How many are you storing right now?
I've probably got like 15, 16 100s in the last couple months.
And how long are they going to need to be stored?
Anywhere from, I've got the earliest as a September 96, and then I've got a latest one, which is like a June 97.
Okay.
So.
And does that change your business model that much? Like, does it put a huge wrench in the whole works?
I've changed the business model a little bit compared to what we used to do with bringing a car in, having an inventory, letting people finance. But now, since this has to be cash up front, I find it a little bit easier for me to do as well, and for the customer, it's just a different group of people and a little bit smoother process.
And it's all cash then, up front?
All cash.
So that's quite different. And did you naturally make this business model change, or did it just like, did you know that everyone would be coming up with cash? Did you know that that was a thing? Because if everyone's financing it before, you're dealing with a certain type of audience, you're marketing in a certain way, you know, you completely changed to a whole new audience, which are people with all cash, no financing, willing to wait 12 months for a car instead of someone that's walking into a showroom and, you know, has to be able to take it right now kind of thing.
Yeah.
What's that like?
Well, kind of what I did with the whole cash thing is I went to a flat rate fee. $2,500 is my full, you know, service of getting the car from, you know, where it's at auction to storage and getting it here, and I bring it in, do a service and detail when it's ready. So I figured the best way to beat the market and beat everybody else is to do something different, and this is what it is. Okay. No one's going to beat my price, in my opinion, especially buying them early.
Does that include shipping?
So the shipping's a hard cost on top. Okay, but I'm just saying, like, I tell everybody, here's your car cost. I show them a picture of, you know, how much it went for at auction. Shipping's about $3 grand. It's usually $2,900 to $3,100, but it depends on, like, you know, that's FOB, CIF, duties, taxes, everything.
FOB is fresh off boat?
That's a really good analogy. Freight on board.
Freight on board. Okay. Oh, wait, fresh off boat's actually an insult.
It's a racist insult.
Oh, can you cut that in editing?
No.
Anyways, keep going.
Yeah, so basically, I just think it makes it easier. It's more transparent, and I don't think anybody else is going to beat that because they want to bring the car here, put a bigger markup on it, and then they'll sell to people who can come see it and this and that. So I don't think any dealer out there will do it for $2,500.
So something I think is kind of crazy, I would think with the escalation of prices, to be able to deal with the escalation of prices, you would need to be able to finance these cars. You know, like you would need to be able to, because with normal cars, the reason why Ford F-250 Platinums exist is because people, it's really not that big of a change in your payment to go from, you know, a mildly like loaded truck up to a crazy modded truck over a 90 payment, you know, period or whatever like that. You've got all cash buyers. That's kind of crazy.
Well,
what kind of...
There technically is a financing option. You can do Lightstream, which is, they don't require a title lien, but it's a glorified personal loan.
But that's not what people are doing?
No, there are some people doing that. It's just, yeah, it's called a car loan, but it's really not. Okay.
What percentage of your people are doing that?
3 to 6%.
Oh, so almost none then.
Oh, excuse me. I thought you were talking about the interest rate.
Oh. No, how many of the buyers?
Maybe 20% of them.
Okay. A significant amount, but not the majority.
Yeah. But what's kind of nice is the guys I've been working with, they have the cash. They can do it. But they just do the financing anyways. So.
What's hot right now?
100s.
100s?
Chasers.
Like really nice ones or junk ones, the cheapest that you can find, or the absolute nicest ones?
Absolute nicest.
Really? How long do you think those things are going to hold out? And that, like, there's going to be an availability of them. Like, how many can you buy right now? So, I guess every question I have leads to another question. Where are you finding them? Will there be a big enough availability? You know, like things like that.
I think there'll be a big enough availability because let's look at the 90s. From 90, you know, obviously I think it's November 92 to when they switched it in September 96. You know, just over 3 years. There was a lot of them, you know, well, there wasn't so many of them in the beginning, but as people saw they were hot, they kept popping up in auction, and they made it all the way through. Just right now, they're starting to dwindle down a little bit. It's getting harder to find them because the 100s are coming legal, or they all got bought out like R32s. But I think there's a lot more 100s, and there's a lot more still available in Japan. I mean, because just think about it. When we go to Japan, how many times do we see a 100 on the street?
A lot of the times, but they might be automatic, they might be naturally aspirated, you know, there's a lot of things that might be, people might not be selling them now because they might be keeping them because they know that they're not going to be able to go get more of them. Used to be in Japan, even at Ebisu or different places, I would see a local, like a Japanese person, or like when I was at MCR factory and stuff, there'd be a car with a little crease in a fender, like in a rear quarter panel, and they'd be like, we'll change the chassis. You know, like, we'll just put a new car. You know, like we'll put all the parts on a new car. That's not a thing anymore. Everyone has to hold on to the cars forever. It's a very different mindset there.
It is now. A lot of times.
All right, let's keep going. Where do you want to divulge where you find the cars?
I find them at auction. So, you know, whether it's Tokyo, Nagoya, Osaka, some of the bigger ones, Kobe. But I like to stick to the bigger ones just because the costs are down on transport from each one up to storage.
So you're buying them on an auction, you're having someone do all the work for you there, you're then transporting it to another place and then getting on a boat, bringing it directly to you. Is that a really dangerous process? Do the cars ever get damaged? How long does it take for the process to finish? Like, I don't know anything about it.
If I had a car that's legal and it's ready to go, usually I'll have it here in 45, 50 days on average.
That's really fast.
Yeah. So from Yokohama here to Tacoma is only 12 days on the water. So it's not bad at all. Then you got about a week and a half in the port here, a couple weeks there, a week for booking, you know, so it all adds up to about 45 days. It's pretty quick. Not too much concern around it. I feel bad for the East Coast guys though, because they wait like 45 days just on the water. So that kind of sucks.
Plus Suez Canal.
Yeah.
Okay, going back to the original thing, we were originally talking, you know, the last interview we did about the change in the industry and everything. Do you have any like distinct feelings about the change over the course of a year? Like, you just didn't want to do it anymore last time I talked to you. You've obviously had a change of heart. You've gotten used to the rise in prices. You've gotten used to like all this stuff. Want to say something about that?
I mean, I do realize that I kind of poured my life into this, and I wanted to just stick it out rather than quit something I built from the ground up. So that kind of came into play. And there's no really controlling the market so much. So if people are going to pay, and it is what it is, it's either you're going to pay it here or you're going to pay probably more somewhere else. So
You're delivering a service that people want. You're like a car drug dealer.
yes, but I just found a way to do it cheaper. You know, if I'm not putting my own cash out there and people are putting their cash up front, I don't really need to make that much.
So fast forward a year in the future, what's going to happen? Are you going to be storing cars for 24 months out? 36 months out? Are
Usually-
you guys going to be exhausting the market? Are you going to have to do that to get the prices at where you want them? Like, what's going to happen?
Usually I see in the last 6 months before they're legal, that's when the price starts going up on them. So I kind of like to get things just about a year out. That way you're, saving some money there, because at 50 or $100 a month in storage, that's the difference of maybe thousands more by buying the car right when it's legal.
So what's going to happen in another year or two? Do you think people will be going that far out to get them? Will they have to wait? Because once you start getting to the point where you're going to have to wait 3 years, it's going to get kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Will you have the availability of cars to purchase at auction at prices that still make sense for you to continue this business?
I believe so, for maybe 5 more years.
Okay. That's a pretty long time.
Yeah, I think so. Because everybody knows the R34 market's coming up, but the realistic thing is hardly anybody's going to afford them.
Also, you can't make $2,500 on an R34 when you're doing that kind of work at that price. That's going to be a different business model.
Yes.
Right now, you're doing $2,500 on like a $15,000 to $25,000 car, probably. The R34s are going to be $100,000
Yeah.
or more. I mean, like, I don't know.
I wouldn't even want to buy an R34, honestly. I feel like the kind of person that would spend $100,000 on an R34 is going to maybe nickel and dime every, quarter-inch long scratch. Like, wait a minute, this wasn't here, or something like that, So I almost don't even want to step onto that market in case anybody in transport shipping walks by, keys touch it, this and that, and then it's going to be a big problem. So
That is a crazy idea.
yeah, I don't think I'm going to do 34s. Maybe a GTT if they're somewhat reasonable, but they're already through the roof.
Do you think we're going to wake up from our collective hallucination on this whole thing and the market's going to dive off? Do you think the economy's going to die off here? What do you think is going to happen? There's a ton of different ways to think about this too, like politics. I don't want to go into politics, but there could be some type of collapse in our economy, or at least slow down. There could be something in Japan going on. There could be availability.
Well, I will say, since the last
Chat
time
about
we
it.
talked, the biggest difference is the yen rate's changed about 7 cents on the dollar. So 7 cents on every dollar that you're spending is a big difference when you're spending $30,000.
In our favor or their favor?
In our favor.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like at
Ooh.
110 now to 1. And I think last time we talked, it was
I think normally that's what it is when I'm in Japan.
normally several
Yeah.
years back,
Okay.
but it's been down to about 103 for a while now.
Okay. I was there for a little while when it was really in our favor, when I bought a couple cars and stuff, and that felt good.
Like 125, I remember
Yeah,
that.
that's what it was when I bought some cars. That was about 6-7 years ago. I'm bad at timing.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about it.
I think it was about
So,
7 years ago.
Going back to that, yeah, I felt so baller. Going back to that idea, what do you think is going to be the big change? And can you even protect yourself from that? Because what if our economy dies off, but the Japanese are used to selling their cars at inflated prices for a while?
Well, I think the interesting thing is, if people, but you have to remember it's worldwide too, it's not just the US. If the whole world stops buying at that price, then obviously the Japanese are going to lower their price. But it's like, okay.
Yeah, but they're really stubborn people, but keep going.
Yeah, it's true. If you sold your truck for $40,000 today, and you had another one just like it, are you going to sell it for 25 2 years from now?
I think so differently from a Japanese person. I can't answer that.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be a struggle. I think they might come back down a little bit, but they're not going to go back to what they used to.
No, I don't think they will. But there could also just be, a much reduced market for the people that are willing to buy them and stuff, and the people just have to store them. I have no idea what's going on. That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be putting in my opinion on this, because my opinion doesn't matter.
It's really hard to hit the nail on the head on this one, what it's going to do, because...
Did you see the rise in prices coming as drastically as they did?
No.
Yeah. So I mean, if we can't see something, especially with a pandemic and everything like that, I would have never thought the prices of everything would shoot up. And we could talk about that too, but I think we've already kind of talked about that in some other episodes. What do you want to talk about? I like the idea of you being an importer and you answering questions you might think we have, or maybe telling us things that we might not even know to ask. Mm-hmm. It's just me asking, questions. So what do you want to tell me?
I'm really looking forward to this event this weekend, and I can't wait to drive this track.
Oh, is that your way of getting out of the
Totally off topic
conversation?
No, I mean, we touched on a lot last time, but I don't really think there's anything new or different that I need to tell anybody or people need to know, because we kind of covered it already. And
this is a useless episode then.
No, it's not. I mean, there's a few changes, but we already kind of touched on it. It's hard to say. I mean,
how about this? Not to shoot his company in the head, but we are in the golden age of American drifting right now, and we have so many good cars, whether it be like Coyote engine Mustangs, Corvettes, 350Zs, 370Zs, maybe even doing manual swap transmission stuff in the Q50s and Q60s if that turns out to be a viable option, FRS, BMWs of certain kinds. We have so many things that are coming up. What's the purpose of us using like drift cars or like whatever from old Japanese right-hand drive stuff, which is escalating in price so quickly? I kind of think those cars are just going to become collector's pieces now.
I was still actually waiting for you to tell me a good car. There's going to be a lot of butthurt 350Z owners right now.
Yeah?
Yeah. You too?
I have a Z.
Oh, rough.
But realistically, though, I think these are becoming collector's cars. So I actually had an R32 GTST. Oh, no, I still have that car. Anyways, I have that car still. They were never fantastic cars. Like, they're fun little goofy cars, but like the RB20 is not like the most exciting thing.
Gutless.
Yeah, they're kind of gutless. I had, and they were fun when they were really, really, really cheap. Now that they're getting really expensive, they're really just collector's pieces, and maybe people want to drive them on the street, and they want the car to make them feel a certain way. They don't want the car necessarily to modify it anymore. They don't want to beat on it. It's starting to lose its original purpose for us, and it's like collecting, antique Star Wars action figures or something and spending a ton of money to buy back your childhood.
I think we're going to see a less and less of imports being drift cars, though.
Yeah.
Because, for example, I don't know if I told you this, I brought in a 4-door 32 for someone recently. It cost 18 grand at auction. RB20, nothing going on. I mean, nice kit, wheels, coilovers, all that, exhaust, like just bolt-on stuff, and it was really clean. But it's like, I never imagined in my mind paying 18 grand for an RB20 car.
So I have a pretty nice GTST RB20 R32 2-door and everything in the country already. I almost feel like super guilty asking that kind of price. It's for sale, by the way. You guys can hit me up. Do the cars in Japan go for more than the cars in America? Because I feel like that's more than the cars in America would go for.
Yeah, that GTST
why do they go
would
for
be
more in Japan?
They just climbed that high.
Because it's another $4 grand to get it here.
3.
No, I mean with your fee and all these other things, it's probably like 4 or 5 grand.
$5,500 if you do shipping and my fee.
Yeah, so $5,500 on top of that. That's a $23,000 car.
There are some guys that have hit me up saying, I want a Skyline, and I'm like, look, dude, just find it here.
Yeah.
There's no point in me buying you a car in Japan.
Send them my way.
I'm sending them your way.
This whole episode is so I can sell a car.
What's all done to yours?
Mine is a RB25 Turbo GTR, like fiberglass wide body, new paint, BC Racing coilovers, like an NRG bucket seat that's leather, I think. Like an NRG disconnectable steering wheel, pretty nice interior, coil radiator,
New head gasket.
new head gasket, timing belt.
Oh,
and
head gasket. Buy the car right now.
why?
20 grand. It's got a head gasket.
Is that something they all need?
No. It's just
You're
like
trolling.
No, you did like some actual like hard work on it. You took the head off.
Timing belt, water pump, head gasket, angle kit. So it has like a GK Tech angle kit, has nice wheels, tires, has a GTR hood and GTR bumper maybe? I don't remember.
GTR hood, GTR bumper,
An
side
exhaust.
skirts.
Doesn't have the side skirts on it right now. I don't know where they are. We lost them.
Had side skirts.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a nice little car.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still, what is that? Like a 30-year-old or 27-year-old? I don't even know. Nissan. That was not the greatest built car in the world. Now, it does make me feel a certain way when I drive it. It feels, I had a GTR of almost this exact same color and year. I actually prefer driving the GTST with the RB20 in it more than the RB26. I felt like anxiety driving the RB26 around for various reasons, but the RB20 car I actually enjoyed more. And they didn't feel any difference in speed, which is absolutely hilarious.
So maybe you need to do a head gasket on the GTR.
No, I mean, it ran fine. It's just like, it was at stock boost, and they're really slow stock.
Yeah.
Like, they are not fast cars. A stock 100 automatic so a stock JZX 100 automatic at stock boost will absolutely take a GTR, an R32 GTR. I'm not exaggerating. A stock 100, probably a stock 90 as well.
Yeah.
Auto is faster than a GTR.
Yeah. Which is amazing that there's so much hype around GTRs being so fast, but
I mean, I get the hype though, because they were doing touring car racing and everything, and you're buying into that whole image.
Yeah.
You're buying into the concept that you're owning that same car that your car could be or whatever. Like, people want certain 911s and, you know, like very specific cars. Their car is never going to be that. It's just a plain Jane whatever, but like, they want that race car.
the part that I hate about
Nostalgia.
R32s the most, I hate the interior.
Yeah.
It's just so basic. Like, there's nothing going on to it. And that's why I get the whole, like, it's more of a touring car. It's got a lot of history, but I don't feel
He's
like
a
sitting in
Toyota
the
guy.
car and you would enjoy it.
Yeah.
But like
He's going to
Chaser,
make fun of like 240 SXs too, so you guys don't need to listen to him.
I have a 180
Okay.
with a
Good,
JZ.
good story. I was watching the auctioning process last night, and the auctions take 15 seconds.
Yeah.
15 seconds to finish an auction from start to finish. And they sit there and spam by the thing, and it just pushes the price up, and everybody's doing it. And within 15 seconds of starting off at $200 or whatever, the car hits whatever price and is done, and like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Yeah,
That's ludicrous.
It's
I
scary.
did not think that's how that worked.
I mean, you got to just be really good at this.
Yeah. So how does that process work? So if I'm a buyer, I message you what I want, and then you just go look for these cars on the auctions, and then you identify them. I give you a price limit, and you just sit there and try and hit it?
Kind of. So what I normally do is I get people on a list that I got running every week, and so usually Monday, Tuesday, when I see everything for the week, I send them a few photos of what I see on the auction, the auction sheet itself, and then I just say, hey, look, this is what I think, you know, just from what I see right now. If they like it and if they want me to get more information, then I'll get one of my guys out there to the auction itself, go get some actual videos of it and some good photos, because those cameras are from, like, who knows when. They don't take good photos or anything. So once we do that, and if it looks like something we want to pursue, I'm going to tell them, look, I think it's going to go for, you know, 2.1 million yen. This is my best recommendation, and
Are you
I'm
normally pretty accurate at that?
about 90%.
Okay, keep going.
And that's what I tell them, like, you know, you can go for less or you can put whatever number you want on it, but I'm telling you it's probably going to go for this price, you know. And normally people will honor that and say, I'll do it for that price or whatever, and usually we'll get it. But every once in a while I'll have a guy who will say a little bit less, but it never really turns out well. And then yeah, I usually take a video for them of the auction and let them see it happen live, so they can see kind of what their number is, or I get a screenshot of, you know, what it is when it's finished. That way it's like more transparent, like, hey, look, this is literally what you just paid for a car. And then yeah, just do the whole process, send an invoice out, and off to storage it goes.
If I tell you I want this car and you go bid on it, how often would I get that car? Like, if I give you a price and everything, and I take the, like you say, 21, and, you know, we wait on that, how many times do you think you're going to try to get that car, and you're going to get that car from
If you take my recommendation price, once or twice. Usually I'm not wrong, but if I'm wrong, we're going to get it the second time.
Okay. So it's not like a crazy, like, you're a realtor and we're going to look at houses and we're going to look at 50 houses before we get one. You're going to pretty accurately get one.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I like it.
What I like, though, is if I set a price, you know, some of the chasers or whatever, I'll say, hey, I think it's going to go for 2.5, and it just was one of those days, and we got it for like 2.1. Congratulations, you just saved like $3,600 bucks.
Yeah.
So I like those days, but It's
Does
better
it happen that often?
a couple times, not too often.
Yeah.
What I'm starting to notice though is cars that are wide body or flares
Go for less.
go for less.
Yeah,
quite a bit less.
People don't want modified cars anymore. I think that's because we don't plan, the people that are purchasing these cars don't plan to use them in that way because we don't want to destroy them. So immediately you don't want all the performance parts on the car. You want the car to have the ability to store long term, to not need a lot of maintenance, and the least amount of maintenance will be on stock OEM parts. All aftermarket parts are going to, whatever. Especially because you've seen it probably a ton more than I have. Anytime I see highly modified like R32s, they are far worse than stock. Like Turbonetics turbos on them, or like whatever terrible parts. They have ancient parts on them, journal bearing giant turbos that spool terribly, super old boost controllers. All the aftermarket stuff is assembled or purchased very, very poorly. They're just outdated parts that suck and need to be replaced.
Yeah.
And if the car was just all stock, you'd have a much better chance of storing the car, because most of these cars are going to get stored now too. People aren't going to drive them every day. If you buy an R34 now, you're going to store that thing for years.
Yeah. I can't imagine paying over $100,000 for an R34 and sitting on it for the next 5 years.
Cy just asked what's the market for K-vans and all the stuff that people don't normally typically want. What are those like?
The K-vans, K-cars will always be cheap, at the end of the day. But the difference with the K-vans and K-trucks is they have a 25% tax. So it kind of hits a little bit harder. But
because you're utilitarian, whatever?
pretty much all the cars that were affected are literally anything that people would generally want.
Okay.
I'm even seeing like Land Cruisers with no shit, holes in the side of the body still go over 10 grand.
Yeah, that's sad. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was easy. Thank you very much for watching. I guess we kind of rambled on this one and stuff, but I kind of like this concept and topic. Thanks. Pause.